brains, they gon' hang. Fuck the fame, I want change. Fuck the fame, I want change. Lot of niggas in the game. Dying out here for some change. Fuck the fame, I want change. Lot of niggas in the game. Dying out here for some change. Fuck the fame, who brains, they gon' hang. Fuck the fame, I want change. Fuck the fame, I want change. Lot of niggas in the game. Dying out here for some change. Fuck the fame, we want change. Fuck the fame, I want change. God 40 go your brains, they gon' hang. Fuck the fame. I got a 3-year-old that needs to go to sleep to get ready for school tomorrow, and it's way past her bedtime, and she can't go to sleep because of this. The time is 7:15 a.m. and right outside my apartment door, there's a man sleeping on the floor. On my neighbor's mat, no less. Hey, cuz. This is why we don't wear shoes in my house. Cause that right there on that floor, all that is urine. That man, he admitted he pissed in this hallway. It's a damn shame that we gotta live like this, yo. It's 20 minutes after 7 in the morning. And this is why I can't sleep between the drug boys in the back and junkies sleeping in the hallway. It's too much. It's way too much.
Washington, D.C., one of the most popular tourist destinations in the United States. Not far from the busy monuments and attractions, there is an area the locals refer to as the 640.
I am Shantae High. I have 2 girls, Atira and Amarissa. I live in Park Morton. It's also known as 640. I've been living here almost 18 years. This place was built in the 1960s. We have quite a bit of activity that goes on around here. Shootings, kidnappings, lots and lots of drugs in this area. We're really tired of feeling unsafe in our own home, be it having to come home and find someone laid in the hallway sleeping or just about overdosed in front of your front door. It's appalling, it's disturbing, and it should not be happening. My first night here, we got a bullet through the kitchen window, and Atira and I slept in the bathtub our first night here. It was really bad when I first moved here. It has gotten better over time because I've been fighting for a little peace of mind to be able to live here. It's hard to maintain a positive attitude and raise
well-rounded, positive, influential, encouraging children. You know, you almost have to fake it till you make it type of thing. You know, smile and grin and bear it while you still fighting a good fight. You know, to push the junkies out from in front of your door. You can't sleep here, you know, get out, get out. It shouldn't be my place to have to tell them that when we have, you know, police that are paid to do this job. You know, I shouldn't have to feel like I'm in danger or my children are in danger. I shouldn't have to feel anxiety when I go out and come back home. Am I gonna find a junkie in front of the door tonight? What am I gonna find when I get home? The time is 8:12 a.m. and I done come out of my apartment and there's a man sleeping on the second floor landing in front of my door. And I'm about to take my child to school. So you know what? I done told y'all I done had enough of this. I done told y'all I done had enough. Oh, now housing authority police decide they want to show up. After I done ran them niggas out of 620 Park Road. 2 of them this time. Yeah, okay. Our fucking safety ain't worth locks, huh? Okay. Often find myself sleepless, restless, because when you hear the ambulance coming down the street, from all the years prior of hearing them, it was always because somebody had gotten shot or there was a fight that broke out or a junkie had OD'd, and it's immediately sparked this overwhelming need to get out. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I need to get out. MPD, Metropolitan Police Department, is right there with their little funky little spotlight while these Bammers are right here shooting their little ghetto video, open containers, cups full of liquor, partying out in the street. And the police is right there, ain't doing nothing. Niggas out back, dudes out back, huddled up, gambling in the back, and y'all ain't doing nothing. And then he gonna look at me tomorrow, huh? They ain't doing jack.
As difficult as it is to raise her children in the inner city, Sean insists on teaching them the same values she experienced when growing up.
I was raised in North Carolina where we were really the village that raised the children. You had to earn the right to go out and hang out with your friends, and you know, you weren't just given things, and if you were gonna throw a tantrum, that really wasn't gonna happen. My dad was military, he's an Army veteran. My mom came from a large family as well. She had many brothers and sisters. So hard work was the first thing we learned. Leadership, being a community leader, you know, don't always wait for somebody else to do something. Sometimes you have to be the one to take action. We were raised in a generation where we had to earn our keep. So if we wanted those new sneakers, those new Air Force Ones or Jordans, we had to go and make ends meet. Like, we had to go cut grass or carry the elders' groceries or, you know, trim hedges, you know, that kind of thing.
Even though Sean strives to instill a decent moral philosophy in her kids, she understands it's impossible to shield them from everything that goes on around them.
There was a shooting on the playground when I was younger, and there was a little girl who was shot in the leg. And I didn't witness it, but I heard it, and my mom went out and helped and stuff, and she ended up on the news, and I'm like, that was in my window, like I seen that.
I remember that day. Of course, I'm on the 3rd floor, but when you hear gunfire, you never stop to think of who it is, where it is, or why it happened. I came off the 3rd floor, as usual, like I had wings, and came outside, and it was just a mess. But something like that to happen to a 6-year-old, of course, we've had over the years now a few people on this same playground have gotten shot over the past.
And it was really sad because she was out here playing, minding her business. And it just made me feel like this was not a safe place. And they, from where I came from to here, it's like I went from bad to worse.
Fortunately, only one child did get shot, but it was an unfortunate accident that it happened in general, because it should have never taken place. And that's to the person whom done it, how it was done, or, it was just uncalled for, unnecessary.
I had to process that kind of stuff and make sure that I knew what they were doing was wrong and that I didn't do the same thing.
The groups that socialize around here, they have had rivalries from other properties that have come here in the past to settle their scores. And it has left a lot of destruction in its wake. But this just goes to show you how they come in our building, roll up their weed, leave their little junk and all that stuff behind. Look at that. All across that windowsill. Look at that. If the doors were locking, we wouldn't have to deal with this.
The violence and criminal activity in the area is something that Sean has witnessed personally.
I was a witness to a young man being shot right out here on Morton Street. That's devastating to be sitting on your front porch and witness somebody's murder. It changes you. It makes you, I'm sorry. It makes you callous to a degree. And I never want my heart to become hard and cold because of my upbringing. I was raised with a lot of love. I was raised to care about people, to accept people the way they are. We're all flawed. We're all going through something. And I never want anybody to feel like I was judging them because their story, their lifeline is different than mine.
Over the years, members of the community have begun to band together and fight back against the violence and crime.
When I see something that I know that should not be happening, I make sure I call 911. I just try to keep our building safe. If something's going on, I get involved. I don't turn and look the other way. I participate.
Some of my neighbors have actually gotten into the fight. So with people starting to band together, it makes it a little more bearable. A lot of what was going on 10 years ago, 20 years ago, is not going on as much now as it was prior to me moving here.
I mean, you used to at one time people could walk up the street and you just get robbed or jacked or whatever they call it now.
Sometime back, we actually had a sign at the top of this street that was placed there by the city that said, "You are now entering a red light district. And if you are caught soliciting a prostitute, drugs, etc., you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law."
That's when everybody was Oh, like bullets were going daytime, nighttime, anytime, crime. I mean, it was really rough up here.
And for many, many years, people have lived here and dealt with all of this crime happening right in front of their front door. And they're sick of it.
The vagrancy and drug use literally steps away from her door has been impossible to shield from her children.
When you see that as a kid, it's like, oh, he's just sleeping. My mom knew exactly. She was like, he's high. I gotta get him out of here.
Some mornings, I was not even resting properly because I'd be up all night running the element out of the building all night long. And sometimes even having to clean up behind them so that she wouldn't see it when we came out the front door to take her to school. You know, it has not been easy.
It definitely makes it hard to grow up as a child when you're seeing that type of stuff at like 6 years old and growing up.
Main man.
Come on. Dog.
Main man.
Cuz. Come on.
Don't try to wake him up no more. Let's just call the ambulance. So I had to call the ambulance for this dude that's in my hallway. He ain't really responding.
You took too much, man. Yeah, okay, whatever, man. You took too much. We had to wake you up. We had to wake you up with Narcan.
Let me ask you a question. How many times do you think I've heard that same line?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm fine, brother.
Bro, we've been here for 20 minutes.
You
Roughly.
ever seen this stuff before?
Right.
So you know what it does? It fixes heroin overdoses. It don't do nothing else, dude. You can lie if you
I
want
don't care,
to.
man. We don't give a shit about you. You can don't gotta lie to it.
I'm trapped here and feeling like you're trapped and your children are trapped. And I hate to use this, I really do, but it makes it feel like it's a zoo. Like we're caged animals, and the worst of the animals are running free while the good animals are locked inside.
Keeping her kids isolated from the dangers of their surroundings is something Sean refuses to do. Instead, she's focused on keeping them involved in healthy activities and off the streets.
You have to keep your kids in programs that will keep them out of the center of all of this. You have to keep their mind directed towards the positive. It has been very difficult, to say the least, because having to redirect your children when you don't have a lot of money to go on, you know, it can be very frustrating.
She just kept me busy, kept me distracted, you know, and that also helped with my grades, because if I had something else to focus on, I wouldn't focus on what's going on around me. I would be focused in my little bubble, you know.
Seeing as how we're a low-income housing, we're not treated the same as people who pay more money for where they reside. We're swept under the rug. We're ignored, because if we weren't ignored, then we wouldn't be having to deal with all of the elements.
Although Sean has felt trapped and ignored for years, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The D.C. Housing Authority has plans to redevelop public housing in the city. Years of delays and bureaucratic holdups have slowed the process down. However, this effort is met with criticism as it threatens to exile many of those currently living in existing low-income units. The reason is gentrification.
Well, gentrification is one of the biggest problems in DC right now. And seeing as how Park Morton is slated for redevelopment, you know, we have to be very cautious about what we do when it comes to our community. We have to stand up and fight, always having to prove people wrong, because there's such a stereotype. This is a bad area over here as well. We've had a lot of shootings and killings over here. They're starting to redevelop. As you can see right there, they did some redevelopment. These guys right here are the hustlers of the block. So they usually walk out to the cars who they think are going to be clientele. Way back when, you never wanted kids to walk through the alleyways because a lot of things would happen in the alleyways. I never wanted her to walk alone. I was very fearful of her even walking to the end of the street and catching Metro bus to school. You know, you just never know what would happen and when in this area. It was very unpredictable. It can be better. It can be much better. The residents who live here deserve better. We all deserve a better quality of life. We all deserve for our kids to have a better quality of life. And in order to have that, our home must reflect the desire that we envision for the future.
With all the challenges that lie ahead for Sean and her family, she is grateful her children have the ability to attend public charter school at the local Armed Forces retirement home. This is possible because of her father's service in the Army.
Everybody have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. Everybody have a seat on the floor. Stand up straight. Everybody have a seat on the floor. No. Right here?
Sean not only resides at Park Morton, she has a much larger role serving as a community leader in the neighborhood. She volunteers and participates in a variety of community outreach programs. Serving as resident council president, Sean also takes the initiative to organize morale events and informational classes for the residents.
I was elected resident council president, which comes with a lot of responsibilities. I was elected in 2017, and with coming into this position, I have been able to kind of push my own love agenda on the community. You know, I had a lot of people that did not like me coming into this position. For what reason, I don't know. But I've managed to break down that barrier and show them that I'm not a bad person. I'm here to help you. I've introduced mentoring programs here for the kids. I have done homebuyer seminars, other workshops, educational classes to prepare residents for the redevelopment that is coming up the road, preparing them to purchase a home if that's what they want to move towards. I do game nights for the children, movie nights for the children, bingo nights for the seniors. There's a lot that I've introduced to this community to try to bring us all together. It's the children, not that anybody else doesn't matter, but it's the children who are mainly affected by what goes on in this community. So I have to keep them engaged, to keep their mind off of what it is they're seeing, and to keep them away from the element to be influenced by them.
We shall not be moved. Hey, the protest has begun. Look at the crowds, y'all.
But nothing has driven Sean's passion in the last couple years more than her fight for Park Morton residents' rights.
What do we do? Stand up like that! When our babies are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that! We ain't going nowhere! Nowhere!
She is the voice of her community, working to ensure fair and equal treatment for families suffering the effects of displacement through gentrification. In the meantime, Sean continues to deal with the effects of living at Park Morton and the impact on her physical and emotional health.
I just went inside the 616 building to take down some old flyers, and I had to step over a man sleep on the second floor landing, going up to the third floor. It just don't make sense. Why we get to pay rent? Why we gotta pay rent and they don't? I have functioning anxiety. I live with bipolar depression. My anxiety got worse when I moved here because I was unaware of the conditions and the circumstances we were moving into. When you live with depression for, well, this year be 28 years, I've been dealing with depression, anxiety, insomnia, PTSD, OCD, and all of those other labels. You learn balance when you find the right therapist. So having dealt with the junkies and all of the problematic maintenance issues, it just compounds my depression. You know, I've gotten very good at hiding it, you know, to the general public. But when I get on the inside of my doors, I am a hot mess. I cry uncontrollably. Sometimes I'm very angry, not at my children, but I just vent the frustrations.
Sean's frustrations and problems seemed to get worse when in the summer of 2019, she was involved in a scooter accident that put her in the hospital for weeks. Through all her adversity and hardships, Sean remains a tireless advocate for her community. She volunteers her time and energy helping her neighbors navigate the approaching redevelopment and displacement efforts. She's done all this while managing to be the best mother she can be to her children. Her goal is steadfast: to raise her children to be successful in life despite their unflattering environment. And she's off to a great start.
With Atira, I had the opportunity to put her in dance school, Dance Institute of Washington, located on 14th Street. At the time, they were looking for like 12-year-old to 18-year-olds. And I said, you know, I took it upon myself, called DIW and said, I need to speak to somebody in charge. He dropped the age limit, and literally more than half of the kids at this property were going to Dance Institute of Washington to study hip hop or ballet or contemporary or African jazz. She was a mentee and a mentor with Youth Escape Arena, OYEA Inc., which also gives her an outlet to speak on her life changes. She has, you know, spoken about what it is to be a positive choice maker, you know, what it is to keep your head in the books, what it is to be bullied and come out, you know, stronger and victorious on the other side. when she participated in the student ambassador program, I did not know it was going to cost as much as it was going to cost. And I prayed about it. I was like, God, if it's your will, please, make a way for me to raise this money so my baby can go to the United Kingdom and see something great that I may never get a chance to see. And it happened. I used the talents that I have, that my family taught me. I used those talents to be able to raise that money to get her to be able to go to the United Kingdom. And she spent 19 days traveling England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, just living the life that most kids in the projects, the ghetto, or the hood as they call it, will never probably ever see. Because it would have been very easy for her to fall in with the kids around here. She got into modeling. She was sought after for a pageant, which ultimately, led her to model with different agencies in the DMV. And she participated in a competition in New York. She owns the runway when she's up there, and she's gotten very, very fluent with walking in long gowns. She's so gorgeous. Sometimes I look at her up there and it's like, wow, can't believe that's my baby, So Atira got the chance to co-star in her first indie film. It's called Annie's Affairs. We shot her parts right here at Park Morton. So, she's kind of like her own little star. She's always been my shining star. But now she has film credits to go behind her name. I'm kind of jazzed about that. She graduated from Dunbar High School as class historian. All of the things that she has done led her right into a full ride scholarship to college. She had toured some colleges. So when the first offer came in, it was like, oh yeah, you got your first offer. It's exciting. Then offer number 5 came in. Scholarships were offered with all of them, and she got a total of 18 offers, which she ultimately decided to go with Harrisburg University School of Science and Technology in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And she's studying forensic science.
Sending her daughter off to college was a bittersweet day for Sean, considering the sacrifices it took to make it there.
I think I have cried a lot in my life, but I think very rarely I've had a bunch of tears of joy. And those were the ultimate tears of joy. I knew that God had laid a very protected path for us, for me to be able to live here and go through as much as we've gone through, and for her to make it. All I could say was, thank you, God. Thank you, God, we made it. She's gonna get out of here. She's going to make something of herself. And that is something I have always taught her growing up. You do not have to become a product of the environment in which you were raised. This is a home. Yes, it is. The environment around our home is not so great. But to get to that point, to say, yes, baby, you are going to college. It was the most joyous feeling. I could finally say and breathe a sigh of relief because we made it. I think I can do that again once Marissa crossed that line.
And using her parenting experience with Atira, Sean developed a proven mold for raising Amarissa.
And The funny thing is, I never intended on having any more kids, so I poured so much into Atira, but now that I have Amarissa, it's like Atira is a model for the structure that I need to do, maybe change a few things here and there, but Atira was a wonderful, God, thank you for, allowing me to have a child that was easy to mold. It's going to be a lot more explaining with Amarissa, but for the most part, yes, cookie cutter cut out. We're already ready to go. It's just been an amazing journey. I may live in low income housing. I may not have as much money as everybody else, but we live a very rich and full life.
And Sean's journey to support her community continues to thrive. She recently started the business High Alert Emergency Preparedness, conducting webinars and seminars on safety. Her services became vital during the coronavirus pandemic that arrived in 2020. Keeping her community together is something Sean is passionate about. She helps to organize an annual summer block party each year that has proven to be very successful. In 2018, she started coordinating a yearly Soca Fest that draws great crowds who relish in good food, music, and fellowship. As for the future of Park Morton, Sean continues to fight for living improvements even as demolition and redevelopment get closer. She advocated to have locks put on the building's main doors, and in 2020 drafted and submitted the Park Morton Equity Plan. This plan ensures families like hers are treated fairly and with respect during the transition, with the promise to return when new housing is completed. But her ultimate goal is pushing the message of respect and understanding for those who reside in her community. It's a message Sean communicates as often as she can.
Love wholeheartedly. You may see someone who you typically wouldn't speak to, but on the inside, they may be someone totally different than what you see on the outside. So you have to be willing to accept a person as they are. That's that old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. So I instill the same morals that I was raised with. Hard work gets you everything. Doing nothing gets you nothing.
The morals Sean learned as a child and cultured as a parent is something she hopes will light the way for other families who may be struggling to raise their children at Park Morton. Her dream is to see people open up and come together in solidarity. If that happens, she knows the future of her community has endless possibilities.
I am hoping that the children of Park Morton and future generations will become one with each other. I explained to a man at a meeting once when he asked me, can you help me to understand the residents of Park Morton? And I said to him, well, sir, when was the last time you've been to a library? And he said, pardon me? I'm an avid reader, but I haven't been to a library in some time. I said, well, when you go in a library, what is it that you see? He said, books. I said, categorize books. He said, yeah. I said, so when people look at Park Morton, this is like our library. we're very diverse here. But for people on the outside looking in, they see one category of books: true crime, drama, thriller type genre. And by all accounts, we are those things. However, we're much more. We're family. We're children's section. We're self-help. We're so much more than what people think we are. If people would just take 5-10 minutes to talk to us, to see where we are, where our mindset is, they will soon see that all of us are not that crime section. We're not engaging in that. A lot of us are working to become entrepreneurs, who are working to become homeowners, who are working to put themselves through college and their kids. The people who are on the outside looking in, they need to become a little more willing to open up and receive who we are. Now, we do have some bad apples. I'm not taking that, not making light of that, okay? But what do you do when you have a bushel of bad apples? You pick through the ones that are good and you separate them from the ones that are bad. And you rid yourself of the bad apples. But there's a purpose even for the bad apples. They're just not meant to be here amongst the ones who have much more potential.
I will be the last to fall.